and the 20.9.2, and we're going to be taking a more advanced look to see if it has some headroom to overclock. Now for this testing, I'll be utilizing my Normer Apollo rig, which is my Radeon 7's home with my 32 core lovely Theadripper, and we're gonna have a lot of fun for as far as pushing a little bit of the envelope to see if it actually has pretty coolness for an optional. So I'm thinking that this is going to be pretty cool, but you also can fall back to the 20.4.2, which the community and myself do agree that it definitely does have the best headroom for the overclocking. So let's go ahead and hop into the UI. We can kind of see where I'm at right over here, and we can kind of get this show on the road, because I'm really excited to kind of actually test this out. So far, from what I've been able to see in the performance and just idle, not really doing any benchmarks or anything like that, it's been something that's been really just, well, expansively cool to see that, you know, it seems like the Radeon software is maturing. Now, as first, I always like to say out the clock that we can just do what the AMD software will want to do natively, so we can match it and try to knock it out of the park. Personally, myself, that's what I kind of like doing. But hopefully everyone's doing. MT Cole in the house. What's going down, man? And I'm doing this one on like a 1080p since it's on my old computer, so it should catch up to you pretty easy, pretty fast. All right, 1881. Super low score, though. I mean, like, I can definitely beat that for sure. But let's go ahead and run our 3D mark at this point in time. That way we can kind of get our consistency on testing. So, go ahead and open it up. You'll boot this little software. But there's a lot of exciting stuff going on with AMD. I'm pretty excited to see. Damn, that was really fast. Where, I guess, October 2nd to 28th, we'll have a lot of anticipationable points to see what's going to happen with our freaking new Navi series. I am super stoked about that. In fact, I'm going to be trying to snag one of those up day one. I'm really excited to see what they have to talk. I mean, today's supposed to be something that they're supposed to announce a little bit more arc, but I haven't heard any filtered information out yet, so hopefully today, if not, definitely I know on the 28th end of the month, they're going to be releasing some really cooler stuff. So, ooh, first benchmark. It's like that tingle when you go to a game. You're just like, dude, I know something cool's about to happen. So we're going to be taking more of a look, too, to see if, like, maybe the maturing points of, like, the standard. Now, again, the reason why I run these tests with the hardware accelerator off is because I really don't want Windows to have any say-so in the overclocking. Just because I feel like I have the best overroom, like, knowing what I'm in control of. It's the ambient unknown that is the hardest to predict. You know, it's just those random intermittent issues that you're just like, wait, what just happened? It's like following, like, I was watching Steve from Gaming Nexus, and he was talking about how difficult it is to narrow down, like, memory problems, and he's absolutely right. And you really don't know the issue until you swap out another stick, or you run an intensive software for it to run a computing error test where it finds something like that. So it's like, I definitely can dig, you know, Gaming Nexus is the GN channel. If you guys and gals aren't already subscribed to that, you should. It's, like, really freaking amazing. But at that point in time, you can kind of see a lot more cooler stuff for as far as what we can kind of like get down to, like, testing. So, all right. So, second test that we'll be kind of seeing, we'll be coming into, will be more of a, I suppose, I'm like more excited too to do a clean install, since I did a DDU episode not too long ago. If most people haven't already checked that out, I definitely say get a chance. You know, follow up, check that out if you haven't already DDU'd. I did it on my old computer, and oh gee golly, there was a huge improvement. I was very happy, so I think that you guys and gals can definitely get a benefit off of just checking that. Give me 1 second real fast, following up on something. Okay, let's see here. Now, physics tests, personally myself. Oh, okay. Dragonborn. What? Oh, dude, I love that freaking name. That's great. Hoorah. Let's see here. I have a RX 570. Finally solved my Wattman error. Right on, man. I am super happy to hear that. It is surprising, like, what the little stuff will be Is it good? Yes. From my testing, personally, 20.9.2 lowered my thermals, and it gave me a lot of performance, and also it got the backing from the community. So many people came in and said like, hey, you know what, this has fixed this issue, and I'm usually having people say like, oh hey, this issue has been like, you know, prevalent, or this issue is still doing this, or a black screen this. So it's like I've been seeing more positive things in this situation. So yeah, I think that this is a great optional, and it would make sense. They're probably making, if I had to take a wild guess, this might end up being their new standard. If I was going to take a guess, the 20.4.2, which used to be an optional back in the day, by the way, which is our standard today. So, all right, so we got our basic score. I wish we could have a little bit better, but our basic graphics score right there, that's what we're looking at most of our, when we try to beat. So let us go ahead and kick it into a higher gear and get it off of the training wheels here. And let's see here. Carlos, what's going down, man? Is the new version? Yes, this is the 20.9.2. So very excited to overclock it. Haven't done it. Figured I'd do it with the community. And this is a really nice like hotspot for like when I notice analytically when a lot of people in the tech community are online. So I figured I would do that, and we'll have a fun time doing so. So first off the bat, they still haven't fixed the fan thing too much. Like I still manually input this just because I like it, you know. Especially when overclocking, you really do want to make sure it breathes, but you also don't want to make sure it runs into like a freaking power dampening issue where it's all of a sudden it's just like, oh crap, that's crazy. So that's probably, if I had to take a wild guess, in between, I want to say right there is where I want to kind of get it the high up, and then just kind of give it just a tiny edge. Almost looks like a bell housing for a transmission. So let's go ahead and apply that. We'll get that into like the cool mode, not even a cook mode. And power mode, of course, it's overclocking, so let's give this baby pedal to the metal. Well, I mean, I guess it'd be electron to the ion, or something around there. Something spinning around something, and it's going really fast in the velocity. The beauty of my card, which I have found really amazing, is all the way up here. One thing I really have noticed, though, that I thought was really funny, is that, like, you do have in some Radeon software for applicable cards, what I figured out, that's basically what I've been able to figure out. You can click off gaming performance mode and a workload CPU mode. But I think they might have taken that away when they introduced the new 20.Q3.1, which was really interesting, honestly. I was just like, oh, that's kind of an interesting software. I like it. If you're a creator, you definitely would like it. It's pretty sweet. All right, so let's go ahead and get down to our final portion. Now, this one's going to be really fun. I always love playing around with like the finite timing of all this fun stuff. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to, I already know I can hit 2 bands. And let's see what the native software says is allowable. Once you unclick it, then it's going to go up there. I think that's kind of low, personally, myself. Like, most people say that's kind of high, but I'm going to go with 53. That should kind of give me the curve that I want. Voltage, I'm going to increase to... just so it kind of gets a nice native uplift. Nothing too crazy, and I might have to actually back that off. It might actually be... In fact, actually, you know what? I'm going to back that off a little bit. We're going to go with 50. You know, that way it just kind of native. Okay, well, 49 is what it wants to tell me. That's fine. The curve right here, this is where you can kind of like see a lot of cooler things sometimes. Now, personally, if you're not wanting to tweak a lot of settings and test your games over and over again, don't mess with that. That's only for me, knowing that I can kind of get a little extra like RPM run when it gets towards that extra bandwidth or the 1500. It's going to raise the roof, hopefully, and not like, you know, a thermal conduction in a fire. That would be horrible. I've never had to break out a fire extinguisher for extreme, but I do have one on standby. It's the Tex fire extinguisher. I haven't, like, you know, diced it out in like RGB or some shit like that. I would see Corsair. I could hella see Corsair doing that. Now, a fire extinguisher with RGB, it's like, that's unnecessary. Why would you do that? Like, you know, yeah, it looks cool. We're not lying that it doesn't look cool. And like when you shoot it, it lights up in different like freaking LED lights and has a strobe light. But no, unnecessary. I feel like that'd be like a party extinguisher, you know? There's someone here, I'm here to extinguish the boredom. Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Party Sam. But hopefully everything works really well. And like Dragonborn, good question with the 5000 series. There was a lot of problems with that, man. The architecture in itself, but recently they have been like really aiming at it because it was on the list like so many times. I was like, I feel so bad for people with that series of card. Like, because all you guys and gals are dealing with is a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Nice. Hopefully it should give you a nice little frequency boost. Hey, what's going down? Go. No. I like to think that the 20.9.1 is the weakest link in the WHQL list of optionals. I was not... Oh, I actually have to do something. Hold on real fast. Why are you being all, like, stock? Go back. I feel like it's not happy with the dimensions. Yeah, it's not happy with the dimensions. It's like, how dare you put me on a 4K screen and stream me? I am your computer that's just chilling like a villain. But no, I can't understand that. So we're going to go ahead and go back and we're going to hit our fire strike and see if it works. Fingers crossed we'll be able to knock it out of the park. 9.2 is good. I like it. I think 20.9.2 is probably the strongest optional that they've had in quite some strong time, and that's why I get the inkling of the defense since we're in October. RDNA 2 is coming out. We have big navies coming down, the 6000 series in the introduction. We are seeing ground movement from AMD and a perpetual motion that gives you tingles on your arms, you know, makes your hair stand up. It's cool. So I really think that they're going to introduce the it's going to be the 2021 series. And if you've kind of stuck with the AMD, they typically like to jump the shark and go in like October going to November when they introduce the software. They'll start talking about it during the summer, get everyone hyped, and then delay the crap out of it. It's like a Square Enix game. But yeah, I'm thinking that they might end up taking some of the bugs that are inside of this driver in general, because there's very minimal from what I've heard from the community and myself experiencing it, and probably iron it out. All right, first crash. Knew it. Ah! Damn it. It's a soft crash though. I don't know if I'm probably gonna have to reset the computer regardless, just because it's being a little bit of a pizzunk. Maybe hard crash? Hard crash? Ah. 20.4.2. It's definitely got that leg room. You can really mess with it with overclocking. That's like probably one of the... Oh, no. It told me I lost it on the other side. Yes. My streaming software was just like, yeah, dog. Something went wrong. Look at that. I got the artifact already. All right, yeah, we're going to run reboot. And I will take a look and I'm going to beat this. I'm not giving up. 20.9.1. I at least gave 3 chances. So I'm going to go with the 3 strikes rule. We'll see if we can click it out of the park. But as that's loading up, you can have like more... Oh, that's my gaming stream for like when I do Facebook stuff. We can kind of talk over here while I'm getting stuff like more organized and it's like booting back in. Otherwise, it's going to be an OBS nightmare. But I'm very curious to see what ends up happening with the performance of the 6000 series. If it's going to live up to having at least a good portion of time. And is it really not reset? Come on, little bugger. You can do it! Hit restart, right? Man, I might actually have to go over and press the restart button. No, there we go. Ah, see, I just had to taunt it. That's right. ROG, it's got my back. Republic of Gamers, it always has me in heart. Anyways, yeah, the 6000 series, I'm more curious to see what ends up, like, I guess, where we can push it, because the overclocking of the new Ampere series sucks. And quite frankly, I don't think drivers are going to fix it. It's going to be a second generation leap when we go into more partner boards and maybe them doing a 2080 or 3080 Ti, or they end up doing like some like, you know, 3090 or whatever, Titan, whenever they want to introduce. The point that I'm getting at is that the architecture is great, but it's rushed and it's kind of garbage in my opinion, and I'm kind of glad that all those bots bought up all the crappy ass PCIe. I don't like that it ends up being tech waste. I do not like that. I feel like that's a little disheartening, you know. But on a realsy note, I mean, we kind of dodged a bullet in my opinion, and I'm more excited about AMD's launch. So let us go ahead, pull up the software again. We're gonna refresh it. I'm gonna retry. I got 3 tries and I've already wasted 1. I like that. I'm not changing you. I'm not changing you. I'm changing you. Let me see if I can just like really quickly, you know what? Since I know AMD, sometimes they do have hard difficulty times if you don't refresh this point, but it has been good. I like to think that in the Wattman, we have been seeing a lot of improvements. The fan, not so much, even though I'm contradicting myself as I freaking like set up the software, but I'm decently good at it, and like I overclock and I dabble a little bit in mining here and there, and like the Radeon 7 is amazing, honestly, for a computing card. You really can't see a lot of FPS and performance for gaming, but damn, if you're scientifically grounded, you love this card. I love it. So Let's go ahead and at this point in time, what I'm going to do is just going to put it at a 1999. We're going to raise it up just below 2 racks. I'm going to hit apply. We're going to run the test and we're going to see what we get. That way, minimal interferences inside of that situation for like dialing in. I do have a favorite port that I like to like end up testing it with myself, but I don't know if it'll end up coming down that well. Let's see, AMD card lovers celebrate in the Turkish technology forums. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, it's been so bad. I mean, I was really glad that like was it Jay's 2 cents, Brett from like UFD Tech, Gaming Nexus, just pretty much anyone that was a creator, even Linus. I loved like how he took like their I don't know if anyone watched that, but they should totally watch it because there's like a 2 series that I think you need to watch in succession. It's like watching like a Godfather series. And if like Linus ever watched this, don't let that get to your head. I'm not calling you a godfather of tech, but I'm just saying it was really funny to see like what ended up happening because he ends up getting this 8K TV from Nvidia, and they give him like the 3090, and like he's just like balling with like $80,000 worth of tech, and I'm like, damn, that's probably not much to him, but still, that's pretty much a lot to the rest of the world, and that's just beautiful technology. So he sets it up, and he's talking really great about it and all this other stuff. And I think he runs like Crysis of all the games. I might be wrong off that, but if I remember correctly, he ends up like playing Crysis, which was the new reamp version because they wanted to test and punch the freaking 3090 in like the hardest like APU pocket that they can get down to that GPU. But long story short is it's loading up the Firestrike benchmark, and we'll start seeing some cool colorful FPS and hopefully not crashing. It was just really funny to see the next episode after the NDA lifted, after he got all the free stuff, after he records that, he just comes out and he's like, yeah, Jensen's gonna be pissed, but yeah, this is pretty much just crap. He just like lays it out straight out and basically delivers like why it is. So it's like, I think a lot of people dodge the bullet, and after like November going to December, they'll probably have a lot more offshoots of stock, and they did delay, if I remember correct. What was it, their 3070? But I have a speculation that they delayed that because of the simple reason that they probably just didn't have enough supplies to sell. But that's NVIDIA news, not AMD news. I'm very curious about hearing about the new processors since they've jumped ship from 4,000 to 5,000. We're going to be seeing a lot of stuff, and like, oh my gosh, the IPC gains are just so ridiculous. Like, we're all thinking like 15, like maybe like 20, and it's like almost like a clear 20.5%. It's really, really freaking good. See, doesn't seem like anything at the moment, but so far so good. I think we're gonna come out of this and we're gonna be able to knock this out. It was probably me playing around with that mid. That's why I usually recommend don't mess around with that. You gotta find that little sweet spot. Like, it's like balancing on a wire is the best way that I can describe it. But hopefully everyone's doing really good. I see a lot of people popping in. We're up to like almost 11 so far. Cheers everyone, appreciate all those likes and everything. Oh damn. Okay, so I'm getting like decently. Let's see if it gives me a decent artifact. Come on. Oh no. I may not even need to reset this. This was light enough where it wasn't. So you can't push it past 2000 in the newer update. You can definitely push it past 2000 in 20.8.2. I had a really good run with that with the current ecosystem of what they had on the circumvent for this month for Windows. And most everyone will tell you the same thing, that Windows will do a lot of shit. Even with benchmarking, it's a nightmare. Like, sometimes you want to unplug the damn freaking like Ethernet cable, but then so many things are dependent on like the internet. It's crazy. It's not a good look, man. I just remember old simple tests. Oh, see, it moved itself up to 2000. That's not my fault. Fine. You know what? How about this? We'll go to 2 million. See what you do then. Probably not. It'd probably blow up or something like that. 1986, if it doesn't work, I mean, I'm going to be very disappointed and go listen to a Van Halen album. Maybe. I don't know. So I'm going to just take the run, and we're not even going to reset it. I don't think that was a hard enough crash to make me want to worry about it going down in that situation. Let's see here. Have you ever felt a stranger hang out with FreeSync turned on? Let's see here. Well, usually when I run my benchmarks, I don't have anything, but I do notice that it does clean it up. A lot of the things that I find that AMD has done is that's kind of their median, is like where they'll be dabbling between trying to make the frames faster, but at the same time syncing them so they don't tear. and it seems like it's two different fields where they're clashing, and they're just squeezing that line of resistant frequency, and then just trying to put like some diode cap on top of it to make it quiet so it doesn't look like noise. It's really interesting how graphics cards are made, and like I would really be honored later on as the channel progresses and I get better into technology, like to kind of do like what a lot of like cool creators have done and like tour some of these plants. I mean, this is obviously going to be past night, you know, C19, which we're all dealing with right now in the world, where it's like, you know, you really can't travel and go to places like as fast as you want to, and you know, the business aspect. But I feel like, I don't know, 2021, 2022, you know, I feel like I'd have a decent enough community where I can kind of do these things and kind of look at, like, you know, it would be kind of cool to go to AMD. You know, they're actually local to me too. Like, they're not too far. Like, they're within the proximity. Same thing with Intel. I think that'd be kind of cool. So, who knows? Maybe future channel I'll be doing that. Let's see here. Well, well, that depends if they release a 20.9.3, because the way you read the architecture, 20 is the year, so we're in 2000. So we'll be soon seeing a 21.1 coming up soon, if they don't already have it in a beta. But like that would be the third week. So right now, since we're out of that, we would either see a 20.10.1 or we would see a 21 dot, which I don't think we're going to see the new leap. I think they're going to save that to the architecture leap in the 28th, because if I had to take a guess, Lisa Su's going to holster that into the very last minute to basically fire back at NVIDIA, because NVIDIA, even though they took a confidence in delaying their 2070, they knew that they were going to make the sales and have enough like headroom where they weren't going to really trip. So I think that like the AMD needs to have a wild card, and a wild card would be a working software architecture. And if they don't rush it and they take their time in trying to make it more robust and cater to all the families of the GPUs, not just make it something where it's Navi, you know, big Navi, you know what I mean? Don't make it an NVIDIA driver. You know, the new 455 series, if anyone owns a NVIDIA series card, you know it would be a nightmare right now. It literally reduced it, underclocked the card. It was like when we originally got the overclock version where it gave us 10% back. You know, like this was just a really horrible update. So it's like, NVIDIA's not in a good spot right now, unfortunately, like for software and hardware. I mean, they will persevere. They're NVIDIA. They're the most expensive freaking gaming company out there. I need to figure out how to overclock. It's not that bad, Code. Like, trust me. I'm just a simple guy, and look, I've crashed it at least twice already, and I'm already getting a score that's probably going to post, and I'm going to beat the crap out of it. And what you really need to do is find the bottleneck of your CPU, your RAM, and the way the BIOS inputs, because like a lot of that stuff can be confusing, but it's locking them in sync. So I already pretty much slammed the crap out of that. Look at that score uprise. So let's go ahead and compare real fast, and we will take a good look. And we're going to go to results. Take this over here. Bam. All right. And then I need to pull up the last one. And those were obviously my fails. This was the one that posted. We just did. All right. So with a simple overclock, I'll bring this out a little bit so the charts can match. Sorry, that looks a little lopsided, but you can see where it's like the improvement will come into it, where it's like where we have 5% more over room head. So it's like, I think the software is really great. Last time I couldn't even get 20.9.1 to post at all. That software was just so much crud. But you know, it's been really cool to see a lot of like the creativeness come out there, and I have to do a Crossfire episode eventually too, because I still do have my Radeon 7, my dual rig. I think that would be kind of cool just to post that, do like a little thing. And I want to try to do, since I have my, what is it, 3970X, I want to divide the cores, because that was one thing that I really was wondering, to be completely honest, like what I could actually end up getting for as far as score points on like a gaming profile, where it just like slashes like the cores into like 16 and it's utilizing all the cache in the Infinity Fabric. I think it actually might be a little bit easier, but my CPU really isn't a gaming performance one, but I thought it'd be a fun one since not a lot of creators have covered that out there, I figured. But this has been a really successful episode, so I guess I'll open it up if any community members have any questions before I bounce out. You know, I figure since everyone's here, I'll pop this up here. Hey, what's going down, man? Hyper Death in the house. Damn, you're late. But you know what? Okay, since dude, you're like a fan community fave. You know, you've been around for so good of a time. We'll just run some tests in the background. And we'll talk. You know, like if anyone has any questions, that way it makes it a little bit more fun, and we can see how this overclock works on DirectX 12. Might as well be thorough, right? I can get some benchmarks, and I'll end up lining up some tests. And I can always set that up with like LibreOffice and get like a cal, and then like line up all those. That's like I've been doing a lot of the newer charts, which has been really cool. You should try to auto overclock. I did. The first one I did was the auto overclock. That's what I was measuring the score. So I was basically taking AMD's overclock, what they're suggested of, like, hey, this is what we think this card can do with our Wattman, versus my manual input of the Wattman. And like, I feel like the Wattman software itself, it's not too bad. It's no different than like MSI. It's gonna have its bells and whistles. At least it runs native with the card for the most part. But I mean, there is more extreme versions in going into the BIOS and resetting these things. And really putting limitations, but there also is portions in the memory where you can't even touch. So it's fun. I like it personally myself. You know, overclocking a whole bunch of stuff and having the chance to. I think Paul's Hardware put it the best. I was watching his SLI special today before I went live on this, and I suggest everyone to watch it, honestly, because it's a really great like way to kind of see who he is, like on the native side, and him show a really cool tech project. I was really like kindled by the performance, but he was basically saying that, you know, if everyone had these, you know, technology and they had this portion of like, you know, chances to do what I'm doing and what he's doing and stuff like that, you know, I mean, obviously he's doing his stuff really cooler, like a lot more grander scale, but, you know, it does come down to a point where I don't think anyone could have a bad time with this. This is like kind of a fun thing to do. It's really cool. Let me pull up the comments a little bit closer so I can kind of see what's going down, without having to like look at like little tiny hieroglyphs on my screen. I'm using another like platform screen. Usually I have a huger screen. I'm just like, shit, this is hella far away and smaller bit. But let's see here. Have you lowered the voltage? Oh, like, yeah, you know, honestly, I have heard a lot of the underclocking like methods work really well with AMD cards. And then what's going down? Elvar, how are you? And then let's see here. Sebastian, my bad. Didn't want to like forget your comment. Let's see here. What do you think of the Radeon software UI? A lot of people are saying it's blockish. Well, you know, honestly, if you compare it to 2020 versus 2019, oh my gosh, 2020 is just looks sexy. It looks like that hot blonde chilling with like, you know, like some 6900 series XT Lisa Sue edition that's like platinum and gold, and you're just like, damn, that looks pretty good. But it's not the best software. If you compare it to like what you're looking into, like the presentation that they give you, like I guess NVIDIA, yeah, it looks a lot better. Like, NVIDIA's control panel is so, well, basic, but it gets the job done, and it's to the point, and it's very. It reminds me of like Windows in the back in the day when you would look at like the basic XP stuff. You're like, okay, that's easy to read. Good question though. I definitely like that one. For as far as bloatedness and like to follow up on the question of what you're asking directly is, yes, I think that like if they took away some of the ads in the install, like I don't really care about Horizons. I mean, I do care about Horizon Zero Dawn. Aloy's cool girl. But like I'm just putting out of the point that like I think if they kind of like left it down to the options of just like, let me just install this really fast, people would have an easier time of just installing these things. Sometimes I feel like they put a little too much. So I feel yes and no. As long as you're not letting them get your anonymous data, that I feel like is where I run into so many issues when installing it. And they do it so damn trickily too. Because at the very end of the install, they're just like, oh yeah, you've done all this stuff. And then just like under this thing, it says finish, restart. And it asks you, do you want to let AMD collect anonymous data? And it's not supposed to affect the performance, but I've just noticed in benchmarks to benchmark, it's just not consistent. And then let's see here, hyper death. I overclocked and undervolted my Radeon 7. Ooh, damn, that is pretty. That's pretty good, man. Actually, I kind of want to try that right now. Let's see here. So what you were saying? Let's go ahead and put this in here. Go 1912. And that could just be a thermal like portion of where I'm kind of getting, because these cards are meant to run hot, and the junction temperature definitely does hold them back, but they definitely do like to accelerate as like the Zen texture of everything kind of like molds. All right, man. I'm really curious to see if this works. Let's freaking do this. This is technically a legit underclock and a community suggestion. So I figure, why not, right? We're here. We're live. Figured I'd make it more personal for everyone because you guys and gals are awesome. And I appreciate everyone been using those links too through the Amazon thing. Holy crap. Just like looking at that the other day, I was like, man, it's so cool that people were just like being able to get the technology that they've been wanting, because some of that stuff's rare out there, especially with the way people have been building computers nowadays. Like shit, trying to get a PSU nowadays, like that you want a power supply, it's so horrible. And then let's see here. Good to know for as far as the thermals, because if that works really well, I might try that technique on my computing processor upstairs. But damn it, it has such a really powerful, like the way I have it tuned right now, it's just boss. Let's see here. My overclock is not enforced or showing no overlays. Has anyone experienced this? I use the automatic overclock because the card in the OC model. Huh. That definitely does sound like an issue for as far as showing the overlays. That definitely sounds like software dependent on the UI. Man, I that sucks to hear, man. I'm sorry to hear about that. And then hi, I've got a 2950X. I love those. That was my first rig that I did for Theadripper. I hope you're enjoying it. Let's see right here. You're using 64 gigs of RAM, and that definitely does help. I mean, it for today's standards, it's kind of normy since we have Threadrippers, but for yesterday's standards, it was overkill. But I tried it with 64, even though it was a little bit mismatched. But oh dear gosh, it was so clean, man. Web browsers saw no remorse. They got destroyed in a second. So I really dig that freaking like Trident 32 on the 18C. I had 14C on my latency, which was really cool. And then I would like to OC the build in the Rising Cal. Oh yeah, dude, if you have not, I actually have a video for that. If you look up the Rising calculator, and like if you haven't already checked it out, I would definitely say check that out. It is worth your interest. And I just reclocked my and was able to like lower my socket voltage for my core. That's where the fault was on mine, because I would be able to run it for about 4 or 5 days, and I just had the core voltage on my CPU just ridiculously up to where the encoding was needed for my streaming, but now I'm using it for a whole other process. So it was kind of cool to kind of like get down to that point and reutilize that. But cool rig, man. I would definitely say utilize that Rising Cal. It is a good friendly tool. And check out the video. It's a good step-by-step. And I'm thinking about making another one that's more elaborate and longer, because I know for a lot of people it's helped. For the people that are kind of like journeymen to like more experienced in the technological world, that were just like, how the hell do I use this software? But for most people that were trying to use step-by-step, it seems like I might have to do like a BIOS special, just like kind of not reiterating everything, because I feel like that'd be kind of annoying. Just like, let me just do everything all over again to show it, but just do like how to input it into the BIOS directly, because I feel like a lot of people, that's where it goes down. But it's so hard because every motherboard is different. It's no different than trying to play with memory timings that like for instance, the godlike motherboard. That motherboard is literally designed to be the most boss freaking like setting. Okay, I'm already liking this overclock. It seems pretty good. Like, I'm really interested to see what we'll get for scores. And nice, man. I appreciate that. You're really going to enjoy it. It just like, for me, the Rising Cal, the reason why it's kind of like sketchy is because when you download it, you really feel like you went up to that guy from Resident Evil 4 where he's like, what are you buying? And you're like, I'm trying to get a Rising calculator to make my RAM go faster. All right. And you're like, oh shit. It just gets really, really weird. Okay, you know what? That was actually a very decent comparable score. So let's go ahead and match it up. Extreme OC, pushing it to the ball. Oh, okay. I guess I have to go to my. There we go. We will go here. And we have our brand new score. I'm going to go back to my results. Community suggested on the left. And then, let's see here. My OC that accepted on the right. So yeah, look at this. Same scores. You can literally undervolt it, and this is a proving point that undervolting works. So here we go. Cheers. Appreciate you, Hyperdeath. Now, I mean, I might even actually do that for my top computing thing, because there's really no bad performance in that. You look at the lift of the graphics score, because like when you look score to score, Firestrike, yeah, you're like, oh, that's kind of like minimal. But let's look away from physics and look away from the combined score and look at just the graphics score, and you actually do see a drastic improvement. That's 129 more, I guess, dedicated processing points for your FPS needs. So if you have the Radeon 7, that is a really good overclock. I like that. I'm gonna start using that one right there. We'll have to like freaking see if like other things can actually take in like the long run. But I'm more curious to see if I can just turn that into like a computing one and test more of the 20.Q3.1, because that had an insane way to take DirectX 11 on the extreme portions and push the limits of the card. I was just like, whoa. It's like it really likes that RAM on top of there. So I'm like really excited now, since we got a really great score, and I already got another time spy, so we might as well mash it up since we're in the neighborhood, right? Make this a fun episode. We'll thank Hyperdeath for his suggestion on that overclock today. And now I'm wondering, like, I know you think you've mentioned this before, but you can always mention this on the chat board so most people know what CPU you have that's allowing you to kind of get that more, like, finite score. Because mine is running off of a Theadripper, so it's not meant to be a gaming processor, and that's where they basically had it before, where they were doing a lot of like the, hey, we're kind of making it kind of like a gaming processor, and everyone was like, it's not really a gaming processor, it's just something that can be used as a creator. It's just like, hey, I'm done with this project, and I'd really like to just like play a game and not have to play like you know, like switcheroo. Well, I mean, that's what I would presume, honestly, like, Hyperdeath is, like, what I'm getting and experiencing is a bottleneck due to the consistency of having it run through that processor. This processor versus my other processor, like, if I ran this on my 2950X, the way that that handles physics in the complementing portion of a GPU is actually a lot better. I actually find that, like, the first generation of Threadrippers tend to be a little bit more friendly with, the way it handles GPUs, but that is a whole AMD family though. I ended up getting that one that it was more consistently where it was just like AMD processor, AMD GPU, so it was like the synergy of that infinity fabric that worked really well. Oh, that's why, dude, that processor is boss. In fact, actually with those score settings and us putting that onto a what is it, the 3970X, the 12 core, it probably would rank even higher on those presets, just because that's like its gaming CPU at the moment right now. I'm really excited to see what ends up happening when like they release their 5000 series just around the corner. Let's see, would you have ultimate performance PowerPoint plans? I mean, that's a really good point for as far as looking inside their profiles, BIOS. Yeah, that's why I'm hoping like when I can get like a brand new say for instance I get their top tier, I make the investment with a more gaming PC for AMD, because it doesn't seem like Intel is really going to fire back until they get to their Tiger Lake and it's more PC bound. And I do want to explore both, especially with Intel coming out with their new GPU. Their GPU looks good. I can't lie. They really picked the best one out of the litter, and they instantly were able to kind of just fire back with saying like, hey, look, let's go ahead and just make this thing really good. And they did. I was really impressed. Yeah, it is 16 cores, but its dill, or I guess its dill is that it has a better architecture run than my Threadripper. Because my Threadripper, in essence, is just basically two processor Ryzen ones and linked together, the last gens, technically. 7 nanometer is what I got with mine. And yours has it's a better latency dependency that's allowing it to like run across it. But it is coming back with its like, I suppose, hindrance, because it's like when you only have 12 cores and you still have the L3 cache, it still allows itself to kind of like run pretty smoothly. So it's like that's where I'm more excited to see like what ends up happening with the architecture run of like I really like how smooth this is too. You barely see any of like the frame tears towards the bottom. Like that's usually where I'm looking, like because like AMD's gotten pretty good now where you can't tell it in the center. They realize that yes, people are realizing that our game is tearing, versus like where the corners, it's like maybe near the bricking of that in the shadowment of that like shelf over there with the guns and the shotguns, you can kind of see where it has a little bit of like issues. All right, so let's see score to score after it lines it up. How well? Yeah, delay is an oof, definitely for sure. But we'll see some cool stuff. And I think I might just like smooth out this episode right after this. I'm probably maybe set up for like maybe I'll go back to The Last of Us. I got really salty at that last night. They need to fix that game, but I really want to finish it. But I feel like the more I go, the harder it's going to get. So it's like one of those weird debacles. I'll figure it out. I feel like gaming's in my future until at least 5:30, and then I'm going to be watching Batman Beyond with some of my homies. All right, cool. Let's pull this up real fast. We'll take a look at its basic portion, because I always like these when it shows you this kind of stuff, because you can go like at frame rate and see if it drops, CPU temperature, GPU temperature. And this is like honestly one of the reasons why I love 3D Mark is like it gives you all this data. You're just like, oh cool, how neat. All right, so let's go ahead and close this. Go here to here. Time Spy, and I have to change my Fire Strike. Holy snap. Jiminy G. Jilliker's Batman. Like, I mean, there's no comparison. That overclock wins, hands down. I mean, that slaughtered it. Literally slaughtered it. Because I ran that one. It was like right here. Oh, wait a minute. Time Spy to Time Spy, still. Yeah. Hands down, that beats it. I mean, even when the CPU score, like, performance, it has the headroom now because it can breathe and not having to have too much choking point of the overclock. So, I guess fan fave suggests overclock wins for the Radeon 7. We have a new standard. So, cheers, man. Hyper Death. Killing it right over there. No, man, I appreciate that. That was really fun to be able to kind of kick it and like actually spend some extra quality time with everyone. But all right, everyone, this is pretty much where I'm going to wrap up the episode. I had a really, really fun time for as far as this. And before the delay kicks out, and if any other people have any quick questions they want to ask before I bounce, I'll leave that open to the platform. And then I'll probably push out of here in like maybe like a minute or so, something around there. And kind of like see where my day goes from there. Be kind of cool. Hey, Vit, what's going down, man? Yeah, those undervolts. Woo-wee. I'm a huge fan now. I'm not a fan of AMD undervolts. If you press that button in undervolt, there's no... That performance isn't like that. The performance is amazing right there. That's like... That's a game changer, especially with the computing in DirectX 12. That is just so appealing to the FPS. I can imagine there's some boundary gains. Because, I mean, look, 76 versus 84. That's like on a whole other digit. Just like high. I'm a little bit more higher than you, unfortunately. But, all right, everyone. Have a really wonderful day. I guess I'll kind of wrap this one up. Wait a little longer just in case some people are typing in some questions, because I would hate for that to go silent-wise. But hopefully everyone's doing really good. Manual unclock is the way to go for sure. Yeah, well, it seems like with AMD, one of the things I guess I can leave with a closing note is that it seems like you just have to be that tinkerer. You have to be that person that dials it in. Once you dial it in, it's great. It works with the Infinity Fabric, with the Rising Clock over and doing your RAM. It works with the GPUs now that we've thoroughly been able to test this, and then as well as, you know, CPUs, which I've tested really, really well. So everyone, you have a very wonderful day. I'll see you guys and gals in the near future. Stay safe, stay classy, and this was a very successful overclocking versus the 20.9.1, which was kind of garbage. But stay classy, everyone. I'll see you guys and gals in the future.